Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we are diving into one of the most beloved dishes in all of Persian cuisine, Ghormeh Sabzi. And let me tell you, this is so much more than just a stew. It's a whole experience, it's rich, it's aromatic, and it's absolutely delicious. We're going to break down exactly how to master it, step by step, so you can make it perfectly at home. Ready? Let's get cooking. All right, so we're going to tackle this in 5 main stages. First, we'll look at the star ingredients. Then we'll get into the prep work that really sets you up for success. After that, it's all about building the stew's foundation, followed by the magic of slow cooking. And finally, we'll cover how to finish and serve it up. By the time we're done, you'll know exactly how to get that perfect Oftadan stew. You know, that amazing moment when all the flavors have just settled in and become this one incredible, deep taste. That's what we're aiming for.
Okay, first things first, the ingredients. You know, like any great dish, it all starts at the right components. Getting this part right is absolutely crucial for that deep, authentic flavor we're after. This is the foundation, right here.
So here's what you'll need to make enough for about 4 people. We've got our stew meat. Lamb and beef are both fantastic choices. Then the absolute soul of the dish, the Ghormeh Sabzi herbs. We're talking a lot of them. It's usually a mix of parsley, cilantro, and chives, but the real secret weapon in there is fenugreek. That's what gives it that unique, savory, almost slightly bitter note that's so iconic. Of course, we've got our beans, a couple of onions, and these little guys, dried Omani limes. You can't skip these. They bring that amazing sour tang. And to round it out, some simple but essential spices, turmeric and black pepper. Now let's talk beans for a second. You've basically got 2 great choices. Red beans are the super traditional way to go. They give the stew that classic, deep, dark color. But pinto beans work just as well. They'll give you a slightly milder, maybe even a smoother flavor. Honestly, you can't go wrong with either, so it's totally up to you. All right, let's move on to our second section, prepping for perfect flavor. Seriously, do not skip these steps. This part is where all the magic really begins. It's how you build that authentic taste and, more importantly, how you avoid some of the most common mistakes people make. So, we've got 3 main prep tasks. First up, the beans. You're going to want to soak them overnight. A little pro tip is to change the water a couple of times. It really helps make them easier on the stomach. Next, and this is a big one, the herbs. You'll chop them up finely and then sauté them in some oil until they get really dark and fragrant. This is what builds that deep, deep flavor base for the stew. And finally, the Omani limes. Just poke a few holes in them with a fork and let them soak in some warm water. This helps to soften them up and gets rid of any extra bitterness. Okay, and this right here is probably the most important warning I can give you. When you're sautéing those herbs, you have to watch them like a hawk. You want them to get dark, you want them to be aromatic, but you absolutely do not want them to burn. If they burn, the whole stew will be bitter. I'm not kidding, this is the #1 thing that can go wrong, and it can really ruin the dish. So low and slow is your friend here. Okay, with all our prep work done, it is finally time to start cooking. This is the fun part, where we start layering all those amazing flavors one by one. We're building the stew's foundation from scratch, and trust me, your kitchen is about to start smelling incredible. So here's how we do it. First, get your finely chopped onions in the pot and sauté them until they're nice and soft and just starting to turn golden. Then in goes the meat. You want to brown it on all sides just to seal in all that flavor. Once the meat has some color, it's time for the spices. Sprinkle in that turmeric and black pepper and stir it around for about a minute. This is called blooming the spices, and it just wakes them up and makes them super fragrant. To finish this stage, add your soaked beans and then pour in enough boiling water to cover everything. And now we play the waiting game. Put a lid on that pot, turn the heat down to low, and just let it simmer away for about an hour and a half. This first long cook is so important. It's what gets the meat and the beans super tender before we add anything else. Which brings us to my favorite part of the whole process, the magic of slow cooking. This is where everything we've prepped and layered finally gets to hang out and become friends. Seriously, patience is the real secret ingredient here. It's what turns a pot of ingredients into something truly spectacular. So once that initial hour and a half is up and your meat and beans are tender, you're going to add in those sautéed herbs and the soaked Omani limes. Now you just let it all continue to simmer on low for another hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours. This is what lets all those flavors really meld together and get super deep. And here's a really important tip. You only add the salt in the last half hour or so of cooking. If you add it too early, it can make the meat and beans tough. So wait till the end. All right, we are in the home stretch. This is the final stage, finishing and serving. So how do you know when it's absolutely perfect? And what's the best way to present your masterpiece? Let's dive in.
So, there are a few key signs we're looking for. The color should be this beautiful, deep, dark green. The consistency should be thick, not watery at all. But the biggest sign, the one that tells you you've truly succeeded, is when you see a lovely sheen of oil that has separated and risen to the top. That's the visual proof that your stew is ja oftade, or perfectly settled. It means the herbs have released all their flavor into the oil, and everything has come together in the most perfect way. When you see that oil, you can do a little happy dance because you've nailed it.
And now the best part, serving it up. You'll want to ladle this beautiful stew while it's nice and hot, right next to a pile of fluffy Persian rice. And if you want the full, authentic experience, serve it with a side of refreshing Shirazi salad. That's just a simple mix of cucumber, tomato, and onion, and maybe a nice big dollop of plain yogurt. It's the perfect combination.
And there you go. That's the entire journey, from simple ingredients to one of the most treasured dishes in Persian cooking. Now that you've seen how it all comes together, there's really only one question left to ask. Are you ready to fill your home with that incredible aroma of Ghormeh Sabzi?